Part 54. Tokyo's Most Affectionate. Author, Wodada Shuchu Wujin. Chapter 549. Occasional Office, Lounge. Look, I just said everyone will like you and won't be disappointed, right? Igarashi Runa flipped through the comments on her laptop and said with a smile. Yuki Ichino's also saw everyone's comments and compliments, and nodded happily. You're so beautiful, so there's no need to worry. Then just wait for the public relations team to guide the discussion and bring up the fact that you are participating in the National Beauty Contest. Igarashi Runa breathed a sigh of relief, and her anxious heart finally felt at ease. The one with Zuyu in front is Kinhee, and with the blessing of being a zero-time girlfriend, it is very difficult to compete with Kinhee. Fortunately, Ichino's Yuki's beauty is so impressive, especially after Kurosawa put on makeup, she is even more breathtakingly beautiful. This is all thanks to Brother Guang, his makeup skills are so good. Ichino's Yuki did not take credit for this result, but looked at the man beside him. After putting on makeup, she was shocked when she looked in the mirror. She had no idea how beautiful she was. Brother Guang. After that, she found that Kurosawa Hikaru didn't respond, so she shouted again in surprise. What's wrong? After calling twice, Kurosawa Hikaru reacted and asked. She just spoke to you, didn't you hear her? Seeing this reaction, Igarashi Runa was a little surprised. Sorry, I was just thinking about something and I really didn't hear you. Hearing this, Kurosawa Hikaru paused and quickly admitted his mistake. What are you thinking about? Are you immersed in your carefully crafted MV and can't extricate yourself? Igarashi Runa found that he was really distracted, and was a little surprised, teasing. I'm thinking about the next MV and which song is better. Kurosawa Hikaru smiled and defended. This is indeed a problem, you have too many songs, and they are not released one by one. Hearing this statement, Igarashi Runa's mind was immediately intrigued. As an agent, she has to consider many things, especially giving effective advice to artists. Which one do you want to shoot for the next MV? Seeing her deep in thought, Kurosawa Hikaru turned to look at Xiaoyuki again. I don't know, Brother Guang, can I answer you later? Ichino's Yuki was stunned when he heard this and felt a little guilty. Facing Brother Guang's problem, she didn't have to say anything if she didn't want to. It was too perfunctory. But even if she wanted to answer seriously, she had no clue for a while. Because after she learned that Dream Wedding was a song written by Brother Guang for her, the status of this song in her heart was unshakable. Because of this, her favorable opinion of other songs is far lower than this one. Sure. Kurosawa Hikaru didn't push her thoughts. We'll wait until we win the National Beauty Contest. There's still plenty of time. Igarashi Runa also interjected. Good. Ichino's Yuki did not listen to these words, but after agreeing, he fell into thinking. In her opinion, the sooner an answer is given, the better. As they all began to think, Kurosawa Hikaru held the mouse and looked at the comments section. Having said that, while his eyes were looking at the comments, he was thinking about other things. Why was he distracted just now? In fact, it was because he triggered a new mission. Exclusive challenge mission for perfect level skills, peak moment, piano. Task description, a person's life is long, with peaks and troughs, but my life has only peaks and no troughs. Challenge goal. Invite Yuki Ichino's, Chizuru Ninomiya, Shiraha Miki, Mirai Shihoin, and Runa Igarashi to watch your peak moment at the concert at the Tokyo Bunka Kaikan on September 30th. Use the cheers of the audience to let them know that you are the only one who surpasses them all. Show the power of a perfect piano and let the world hear your voice, your name, and your deeds. Mission reward, perfect level piano exclusive weapon, Hand of Heaven. Tip. The challenge task will only be triggered once if you have perfect level skills. If the challenge fails, this task will disappear forever. Opening the task list again, Kurosawa was surprised when he looked at this task. By the way, the names of my 5 girlfriends are actually 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. It was the first time that he looked at the names of the 5 girlfriends together. He just noticed this blind spot and couldn't help but get distracted. Another exclusive mission? The general requirements for the challenge mission are the same, the difference is the skills. Although he was shocked by the coincidence of numbers in his last name, Kurosawa Hikaru was already surprised. He was calmer now and studied the mission requirements again. This challenge is not difficult. It is not the first time for him to invite 5 girlfriends to watch a show together. You know, at the last performance, all 5 girlfriends came. It was triggered now only because he got the perfect piano after the performance. What made him realize was that the core focus of the exclusive mission was to demonstrate perfect inhuman strength. How powerful is a perfect piano? He had some experience while recording the audio of the song this afternoon. An entry-level piano is technically proficient, but has no emotion, as if it were played by a heartless person. A proficient piano, full of emotions, superb piano skills, and a style that can be distinguished in the world. For a perfect piano, it is no longer a state of judging whether there is emotion or not, but a state of being able to play as one pleases, as if it has entered a mysterious state. The 52 white keys, 36 black keys, and 3 pedals of the piano seem to be integrated with him. Even if he is blind or deaf, he can still feel the presence of the piano very clearly. All the notes are driven by him, like an arm driving a finger. He was not born for the piano, but the piano was born for him. It's just past 12 o'clock. Today is September 17th. In other words, are there still more than 10 days? September 23rd is the pairs skating competition. It is necessary to introduce Bayu to Kinhee before then. Kurosawa Hikaru calculated the time and found out that the pairs figure skating competition that Miki Shiraha signed up for would start next Friday. Not to mention that he needs to spare some time to train and prepare himself to win the championship with Bayu. Once this competition starts, even if he doesn't win the championship, considering the looks of him and Bayu, it will definitely become a small news. By then, even if he didn't say anything, the news about him skating with Bayu would definitely reach Kin's ears. At this moment, Igarashi Runa's phone rang. Kurosawa, Apple called, asking you when the album will be recorded. Igarashi Runa answered the phone, hung up the phone after chatting for a while, and asked. Monday. When it came to work, and it was a big contract, Kurosawa realized that he had delayed long enough and decided to take action. Although he signed a $100 billion contract, he has not fulfilled his obligations and the money has not yet arrived. Quickly finish the album and let Apple pay, so that Sister Kinhee can resign from the bank, and he can directly transform into a billionaire. It was already early in the morning. After chatting for a while, they left the office together. After Igarashi Runa drove Ichino's Yuki home, she set off again. Where to go? After setting off, Igarashi Runa asked, pretending to be casual. Go home. Kurosawa Hikaru sat in the back seat and answered matter-of-factly. Good. Hearing this answer, Igarashi Runa was a little disappointed, and then drove silently. Although after she became a gold medal agent, she no longer needed to be a driver. However, she was still happy to be Kurosawa's driver. Sister Runa, are you going the wrong way? As the car continued to drive, Kurosawa Hikaru noticed the problem with the route and reminded him. I know where your home is, there's no way it's wrong. Igarashi Runa shook her head, very confident. She grew up in Tokyo. After becoming an agent, she took Fujiwara Rika around in the early years, so she was very familiar with Tokyo. When I say home, I mean our home, which is a villa, not an apartment. Seeing her confident look, Kurosawa Hikaru was a little amused and added. So when you said go home, Did you mean the villa? Igarashi Runa was stunned for a moment, and then he reacted, and he couldn't help but snicker at the corner of his mouth. Otherwise, there's no way I can live in a big villa without holding my two sweet-smelling beautiful sisters, and go back to sleep in that small apartment, right? Noticing her snickering, Kurosawa Hikaru also asked with a smile. Yes, yes. After thinking about it, Igarashi Runa felt it made sense, and a smile appeared on her lips. Our home, this term, made her feel very sweet and satisfied. When we returned to the villa, it was already 1 o'clock in the morning, and there was no light in the house. Go get a change of clothes and come to my room later. Arriving at the second floor, Igarashi Runa also reminded. Okay. When Kurosawa Hikaru heard this, he read the subtext of the Mandarin duck bath. He couldn't help but glance at her hot and sexy figure, and his mind suddenly became active. Maybe Runa-san is wearing formal OL clothes today, but that's why she's sexy. What's the difference between sexy and borderline? The former is a passive skill and the latter is an active skill. Go quickly. Igarashi Runa was a little embarrassed when he was stared at by his fiery and direct gaze, so she spat at him, then turned around and left. Seeing her graceful figure leaving, Kurosawa licked his lips and returned to the room. There are so many rooms in this villa, so naturally he has his own room, although so far, he has not slept in his own room. However, he kept several sets of clothes in the villa, all in the bedroom wardrobe. He moved quickly, went back to his room to get a set of clothes, and then went to Igarashi Runa's room. Although it was late at night, the three of them slept together the first 2 times. There was no chance for them to be intimate in front of Ninomiya Chizuru. Kurosawa Hikaru and Igarashi Runa had already been suffocated. They finally had a chance to be alone tonight, and they didn't even sleep. Tokyo's Most Affectionate. Author, Wodada Shuchu Wujin. Chapter 551. Overnight, the number of plays of the MV Dream Wedding on YouTube has soared to extremely terrifying heights. The arrangement of this piece is inherently good. Just listening to the intro alone will make you immersed in it. Coupled with Kurosawa Hikaru's perfect playing skills, it is fascinating. And the appearance of the blonde bride also shocked countless people. Her appearance is so good that she is not inferior to Adelina, or even worse than her. This is because the neon people's aesthetics prefer beauties with a bird-like shape to those with a tall figure and aloofness. Of course, not everyone thinks this way. For example, fans of Adelina firmly believe that the idol is the most beautiful. That's why there is a lot of discussion surrounding the topic of who is more beautiful. #TheHappiestSmile #. This topic has the number of tweet discussions on Twitter, and it is also a super hot topic. The blonde bride's smile is so sweet. Just seeing her smile makes people feel good, as if it has the magic power to heal people's hearts. Under the deliberate guidance of the public relations team and the revelations from informed audiences, Yuki Ichino's information gradually became known to people. 18 years old, JK, a sophomore at Chingquan Private High School, is a fashion model, a contract artist with 0-hour agency, and is participating in the National Beauty Contest. What is shocking is that as a young artist, Yuki Ichino is in a relationship with an unknown boyfriend. This news has made many people curious about the relationship between the blonde bride and the 0-hour master. Yuki Ichino's Twitter account was hit in the comment section, and the number of followers skyrocketed from 490,000 to 3.85 million, and is still rising. It can be said that it became a real hit overnight. After sleeping for an unknown amount of time, Kurosawa Hikaru woke up. The curtains in the house are tightly closed, and the sun is gone. You have to use mobile phones and clocks to tell the time. Sister Runa, wake up. Kurosawa picked up the phone, took a look at it, and gently pushed the woman next to him with his hand. What time is it? Let's sleep a little longer. Igarashi Runa woke up from her sweet sleep, Her beautiful eyes were slightly opened and she was still a little confused. After a good night's sleep, even though she had shoulder-length hair, her hair was still a bit messy. Compared with the usual neat combing, this messy look added a bit of charm to her beautiful and gentle oval face. Maybe she is not married yet, but there is a big difference between a girl and a woman, and she looks like a young woman. It's 1 p.m. Hearing her soft and charming words, Kurosawa's heart softened a bit, and her words were gentle. A hero is saddened by a beautiful woman. How can any man not be moved by such a gentle country? 1 p.m. Hearing this, Igarashi Runa's eyes widened suddenly, her heart skipped a beat, and she was frightened to wake up. Although I stayed up late last night and didn't go to bed until 5 o'clock, but this time was too late. Since graduating from college, she has never slept so late even during the holidays. Kinzuru has a day off today, and I don't know if she will be hungry. Igarashi Runa came to her senses and immediately panicked. Immediately, both of them hurriedly got up. However, when Kurosawa Hikaru got up, he saw Igarashi Runa getting dressed beside him, and his eyes were involuntarily drawn to her. Needless to say, many of the behaviors of girls are fatally tempting to boys. This is true whether you are getting dressed or taking off your clothes. Why don't you go brush your teeth? You've seen them all. Don't you get tired of them? Being stared at by him, Igarashi Runa paused in putting on her clothes, felt a little ashamed and angry, and spat at him. How can I get tired of watching it? I will never get tired of watching it in my lifetime. Kurosawa Hikaru, who was still looking at her, was struck by her charming white eyes. He couldn't hold back anymore and moved forward to hug her. Get up quickly. Igarashi Runa pushed him shyly to prevent him from struggling. You're going to turn your back on me when you put on clothes, right? You can't even hug her. Kurosawa Hikaru failed to succeed and stared as if he had been let down. How is that possible? Hug, hug. Igarashi Runa was framed by him and didn't know how to explain it, so she had to reach out and hug him. Okay, get up. After being hugged by her, Kurosawa Hikaru got up contentedly. After a while, they got dressed and ran into the bathroom to wash up. After cleaning up, the two people walked out of the room. Walking down the stairs to the first floor, the living room was empty. However, they soon found Ninomiya Chizuru in the dining room. Embarrassingly, she was walking to the kitchen with a bucket of instant noodles, as if she wanted to take it and dump it, destroying the remains. You guys are awake, good morning. Before she could even walk into the kitchen, Ninomiya Chizuru paused for a few seconds before they appeared, and then she took the initiative to speak. Why are you eating instant noodles? Kurosawa Hikaru asked after seeing what was in her hand. Because I'm hungry. Ninomiya Chizuru confessed. Why don't you order takeout? Kurosawa Hikaru choked up and asked again. Don't want anyone to find out I live here. Ninomiya Chizuru actually thought about ordering takeout, but later gave up. Anyway, she has never had any requirements for food and drink, so she can handle instant noodles, as long as she can fill her stomach. You're hungry, you should wake me up. Igarashi Runa walked forward, took the instant noodles in her hand, and found that she had eaten half of it. You don't go to bed until 5 o'clock, and today is the weekend. Let you get some sleep. Ninomiya Chizuru shook her head. She couldn't do things like wake up someone to make lunch for herself because she was hungry. How do you know we don't go to bed until 5 o'clock? After hearing this, Igarashi Runa felt something was wrong. It was already 1 o'clock in the morning when they returned to the villa last night, and they were very gentle before going back to the room, so they shouldn't wake up Chizuru. Faced with this question, Ninomiya Chizuru looked at her and didn't know how to explain it for a while. How should she answer this? Because you were so loud last night that you didn't stop until 5 o'clock. Sometimes, silence is also an answer. Did you hear everything? Igarashi Runa was an old SIG, and she suddenly reacted and her face turned red. Ninomiya Chizuru didn't say anything, but nodded silently, her face getting a little hot, remembering what happened last night. Last night, she had slept well, but as she fell asleep, she heard strange noises. Fortunately, this house is a single-family villa. If you rent a room outside, in a love hotel with slightly poor soundproofing, everyone may be able to hear Runa's movements. After knowing each other for more than 20 years, this was the first time she discovered that Runa had such a side. Chi. Seeing their awkward conversation, Kurosawa Hikaru felt uncomfortable and suddenly couldn't help laughing. Hashtag hashtag hashtag. Igarashi Runa, who was already in embarrassment, immediately widened her eyes when she found out that he was laughing, and her right hand close to his side was secretly pinching his lower back. This guy went too far. He even had the nerve to smile without looking at who caused this result. Hiss, you can't blame me. I asked you to keep your voice down. Kurosawa had rough skin and thick flesh, so it didn't hurt when she pinched him, but he still took a deep breath and pretended to be in pain and cried out for injustice. You still said that. Igarashi Runa was even more furious when she saw him complaining about injustice. She was so ashamed that she wanted to find a hole in the ground and crawl into it. After a while of commotion, Igarashi Runa was so embarrassed and annoyed, but she couldn't explain it clearly, so she could only run away and make lunch. There are a lot of ingredients in the refrigerator, so there is no need to go out and buy them. As she left, only Kurosawa Hikaru and Ninomiya Chizuru were left in the dining room. Now, it was Kurosawa Hikaru's turn to be embarrassed and embarrassed. Because he slept with Sister Runa last night, he was caught. It was like he was secretly eating with his girlfriend's best friend, but was discovered by his girlfriend, which made him unable to feel confident at all. After dinner later, do you have any plans for the afternoon? Seeing his stiff look, Ninomiya Chizuru gave him a funny look, then pulled up a chair at the dining table and sat down. She was wearing a long blue dress. Her beautiful legs were pressed together under the dining table. They were slender and plump. Her feet were covered in slippers and her toes were shiny. I have to go to the office to record the album. I have to fulfill my contractual obligations quickly so that Apple can pay me. Seeing that she didn't mention what happened last night, Kurosawa followed the topic. Among his 5 girlfriends, the one he fears the most is Ninomiya Chizuru. Because she was obviously very mature and rational, but she had been forced to cry by him, so he was particularly concerned about Kin's feelings and didn't want to make her angry or sad. Can I go to the office with you later? Ninomiya Chizuru said oh and asked again. You have a day off today, that's what I originally planned. Kurosawa Hikaru walked forward and sat next to her to wait for lunch together. Ninomiya Chizuru just glanced at him and did not take any action, letting him sit next to her. Sister Kinhee, will you come to the performance at the end of the month? Finding that she had no reaction, Kurosawa let out a secret sigh of relief and asked. From this point of view, even if Sister Kinhee is jealous about what happened last night, she is not angry. Don't you want me to go? After hearing this question, Ninomiya Chizuru thought for a moment and then asked. No. Then why do you ask this question? I will definitely go to your performance. There are not many opportunities to see you perform live. Ninomiya Chizuru didn't understand that as her zero-time girlfriend, she must go. Just wanted to confirm. Kurosawa Hikaru also felt that his question was a bit stupid, but he had no choice. The requirement for the exclusive challenge mission was a formal invitation. Is there anything going to happen at the show at the end of the month? Ninomiya Chizuru is very smart and always feels that there must be a monster when something goes wrong. Under normal circumstances, Kurosawa's words and actions are traceable. The last time he behaved strangely was before the archery competition. Kurosawa Hikaru paused and fell into silence. it is impossible to say that the performance at the end of the month will be uneventful. After all, 5 girls are gathering together. Although this happened last month, and everyone kept their distance, everything was fine. But it is unrealistic for 5 girlfriends to get together on one occasion and expect nothing to happen every time. Right. After much thought, Kurosawa Hikaru quickly made a decision and nodded in recognition. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Tokyo's Most Affectionate. Author, Wodada Shuchu Wujin. Chapter 552. When Ninomiya Chizuru saw him nod, her eyebrows furrowed, and a certain guess suddenly emerged in her mind. However, guesses are guesses, not the truth. What is it? Ninomiya Chizuru's personality is rational and mature. She is not impatient, and will not rush to judge. She is a reasonable person and decided to ask first. Sister Chizuru, do you know Miki Shiraha? Kurosawa Hikaru paused for a few seconds, and after making up his mind, he asked. Yes, he chose to show his cards. As the saying goes, confession is leniency, resistance is strictness. The matter about Shiraha will be exposed one day. Instead of hiding it and passively exposing it, it is better to take the initiative to confess. So far, only Chizuru doesn't know about Shiraha. In fact, Igarashi Runa didn't ask about it, but she is so smart and careful. I think she has seen the clues through the performance at the end of last month and the Super VIP ticket. The 5th one. Ninomiya Chizuru's blue eyes must have suddenly become a little sharper. How could she not know this name? Known as the school beauty of Tokyo University, this identity is not only known by students, but also by teachers and professors of the school. Moreover, as a teacher, she knows more than students. For example, Miki Shiraha was a figure skating genius before, but retired due to injury. Her mother is a very good figure skating coach, and her father is a teacher at a high school in Hokkaido. Finding that she had made a judgment after hearing the name, Kurosawa Mitsuru was speechless and just nodded. Inhale, exhale. Seeing his nod, Ninomiya Chizuru's heartbeat suddenly accelerated, and she felt her blood pressure soaring. She took a deep breath and forced herself to calm down. This incident surprised her, but it was not very unexpected, and she had expected it. After all, Miki Shiraha of the literature department is superior in all aspects, whether it is family background, appearance, age, temperament, personality, etc. The most important thing is that she has had contact with Kurosawa. Even if Kurosawa is very loyal, she will be afraid that Kurosawa will be snatched away by Miki Shiraha. What's more, Kurosawa is very fickle, and it is not surprising that he and Miki Shiraha will have some stories. When did it happen? Ninomiya Chizuru took a few deep breaths and spoke. Although her expression was calm, her slightly trembling voice still revealed her uneasy heart. At the end of last month, I can assure you that there will never be a 6th one. Kurosawa Hikaru observed that she had held back, secretly breathed a sigh of relief, and immediately answered her question, quickly expressing his true feelings. It seems that the fundamental reason why Chizuru's sister broke down and cried was that he kissed other girls in front of her without her thinking it through, and not just one, but 2. He challenged her bottom line one after another, tearing her dignity and feelings to pieces. It is impossible for him to make such a huge mistake again, unless Chizuru's sister doesn't mind. You don't have to promise me, you can find as many as you want, you are so handsome and so outstanding, it is normal for girls to like you. Ninomiya Chizuru shook her head when she heard this. I'm serious, I won't find a 6th one. Although she said so, Kurosawa Hikaru didn't take it seriously. Girlfriends are creatures that like to say the opposite of what they mean, especially when they are angry. Are you telling me this because she will also come to the performance at the end of the month? Ninomiya Chizuru did not comment on the fifth girlfriend and asked instead. Yes. Kurosawa Hikaru nodded. At the end of the month, the 5 girls will gather together, and there may be a chance to meet. You want to ask for my consent. You can understand it that way. Have you asked their opinions? Ninomiya Chizuru asked after thinking about it. Before asking for the consent of others, I want to ask your opinion first. Hearing this, Kurosawa Hikaru's heart moved and he said decisively. Although lying is wrong, being too sincere when getting along with girls is not pleasing. I have no objection, you'd better ask their opinions. Do they know about Runa? Ninomiya Chizuru paused for a few seconds, and asked in addition to making suggestions. She didn't know how to express her attitude about this matter. Because Kurosawa said that his heart was divided into 3 parts, all of which were of equal weight, but later, under her push, it was divided into 4 parts. The difference between 4 and 5 is not very big, and it has already passed the concept of 3 times the limit. And this matter can no longer be stopped. It is now halfway through September, and it has been half a month since the end of last month. Although I don't know how far Kurosawa and Miki Shiraha have developed, I think he will come to me to talk about this, which means that he is unlikely to break up. I already know about Sister Runa, but I don't know about Shiraha. In order to stabilize her mood as much as possible, Kurosawa Hikaru can only lie. If Sister Chizuru knew that she was the last person to know, I don't know how she would feel. In contrast, letting her think that she was the first person to know fully shows that he values her. What is their attitude towards Runa? Ninomiya Chizuru realized that he came to her to discuss it first, and her mood did improve a little. It was a rare opportunity, so she just asked. In fact, she was concerned about this matter before. Because she is the leader in breaking taboos and bottom lines, that is, from 3 to 4, in a sense, from 4 to 5, she cannot escape her sin. As a good best friend and the mastermind, Runa is definitely the 4th girlfriend to welcome, because she gains the most. But this incident was a completely unforeseen disaster for Ichinose and Shifunjin. Mirai is angry, Yuki-chan is sad. Kurosawa Hikaru's mind was very sharp and he noticed that her attitude was more relaxed than expected. He took a deep breath and sighed incomprehensibly. Then you dare to find the 5th one. After hearing their reactions, Ninomiya Chizuru glared at him. This guy has 2 beautiful young girls, 2 older ladies, and a total of 4 girlfriends. He is not satisfied, so he is looking for a 5th one. This is too greedy. Sigh. Kurosawa Hikaru was speechless for a moment when she accused him, and then sighed, feeling very annoyed. It doesn't matter how many you want, but you have to know that there is an upper limit to a person's tolerance. Ninomiya Chizuru saw that he was very troubled and did not blame him, but just warned him. This can be regarded as a statement that she will not pursue the 5th one, but she does not hope there will be a 6th one. Kurosawa has 5 girlfriends, and he spends 5 days with one of them every day. If this matter is not curbed, if the number of people continues to increase, 1 week or 7 days will not be enough. And in reality, it is impossible to distinguish them neatly. As a couple, it is common for them to travel and spend a few days and nights during holidays. I know, so I will never look for a 6th one. Kurosawa Hikaru also took her warning to heart. Runa probably won't have any objections to this matter, but as for Ichinose and Shifunjin, do you want to convince them? Seeing his attitude, Ninomiya Chizuru believed it for the time being and was a little curious. Although Kurosawa didn't lie to her once or twice, she still wanted to believe it first when she encountered the situation. No matter what kind of relationship it is, it cannot be maintained if trust is lost. This is true for friends, but also true for lovers and couples. Not yet. Does Sister Kanhi have any suggestions? Kurosawa Hikaru did not say that they had agreed long ago, but shook his head. No, you can figure it out yourself. You have so many girlfriends, but you still can't make girls happy. Ninomiya Chizuru didn't expect that he would ask back, so she rolled her eyes at him and hummed. She was just curious about what method Kurosawa would use to solve the problem, and asked her to help him teach her boyfriend how to coax other girls. How was that possible? If she coaxes Runa, she will help think of a solution. She has double standards, both towards Kurosawa and Runa. All right. Seeing her arrogant look, Kurosawa Hikari felt happy and felt she was cute, but on the surface he was still pretending and had no choice but to give up. It was done, he just had to tell Sister Runa, and Bayu would have nothing to worry about. As for Mirai and Xiaoyuki, they already knew about it and had no problem with it. Even so, what Chizuru said just now also alerted him. There is an upper limit to people's tolerance. Even if Xiaoyuki and Mirai seem to have nothing on the surface, they might have a ruler in their hearts. Fortunately, he was already satisfied and had no intention of looking for a sixth one. This is a fair thought, because 5 girlfriends have already kept him busy, and he can't stand upright. If he adds more, it will really kill him. I'll bore you to death by asking you to find so many girlfriends. Ninomiya Chizuru groaned inwardly when she saw the troubled look on his face. Go and help Runa make lunch. You tortured her like that last night. Don't let her work alone. Immediately, she saw that Kurosawa Hikari had been suffering from a headache that didn't seem to be getting better, so she simply brought up the matter to divert his attention. There is no point in sighing about troubles. Only by adjusting your mood and state can you solve them better. It's not me who's torturing her, it's her who's torturing me. Kurosawa Hikaru muttered after hearing this. Is that so? What happened last night? Ninomiya Chizuru was stunned when he heard this, and then became curious. The roar that filled the house last night really scared her. After being woken up, she actually wanted to run over and see what was going on. However, out of trust in Kurosawa, she could not abuse or bully Runa, so she held back. You really want to know? Kurosawa Hikaru did not answer immediately, but carefully observed her reaction. When dealing with this kind of thing, you must be careful in your words and deeds. When a man gets along with his girlfriend, if he is not careful, he will say the wrong thing if he is not careful. Facing his gaze, although Ninomiya Chizuru was a little shy, curiosity prevailed after all and she nodded. Although she was not able to see it with her own eyes last night, she heard another side of Runa with her own ears. This discovery directly overturned her impression of Runa for more than 20 years. 2 more to come. Tokyo's Most Affectionate. Author, Wodada Shuchu Wujin. Chapter 553. In the afternoon, Kurosawa Hikaru went to the office to record 10 piano pieces for the album. The actual number of recordings was 9, because the Dream Wedding played on the perfect piano had already been recorded. Recording an album is different from playing casually, so Ninomiya Chizuru and Igarashi Runa both listened to it with headphones on the center console, and could not walk into the recording studio together and watch from the side like before. The recording process was extremely smooth. Because Kurosawa Hikaru's level was too high, there was no possibility of re-recording or re-recording at all, and everything was done in one go. For him, fulfilling the contract business was just playing 10 piano pieces, and he could get Apple's 100 billion song copyright agency fee and sales share. On that day, Yuki Ichino's life also changed dramatically. In fact, she had become popular once before, but this was the level of an internet celebrity, limited to Tokyo, mainly around various colleges and universities. But this time was different. She was the heroine of the song MV of the current popular Zero Hour Master, and she became popular overnight, covering the whole country and even the world. She did yoga exercises at home in the morning to warm up, and went to the dance class in the afternoon. Perhaps before this, She was very conspicuous in the dance class because she was too beautiful, whether it was her figure, appearance, or temperament. However, today, the other students in the dance class looked at her sideways after seeing her. There was surprise, curiosity, jealousy, admiration, and love. Itchy nose, are you the blonde bride? With her arrival, the dance class teacher also called her out for a private talk. Ah, Yuki Itchy Nose was stunned when she heard the words, and nodded when she saw the teacher's enthusiastic and excited reaction. Have you learned ballet before? The dance you danced in the MV is so beautiful. The dance teacher was very excited to get her affirmation. Dance and music are two completely linked fields. As the saying goes, there is no song without sound and no dance without movement. Because of this, she is also a fan of Zero Hour Master. At midnight last night, God knows how excited she was when she saw the scene in the MV of the song Wedding in the Dream on her YouTube live channel, where Yuki Itchy Nose turned her head and smiled at the camera. I have never learned ballet before, that was taught by the photographer. Facing the teacher's praise and recognition, Yuki Itchy Nose felt unprecedented attention and was overjoyed. You have no foundation, he just taught you once, and you danced like that. Not once, I spent more than an hour to learn, and the photographer corrected me again and again before I danced like that. You can dance like this in just 1 hour, you are a ballet genius, you shouldn't learn modern dance, you should learn ballet. The dance teacher was shocked and even more regretful, regretting why she didn't discover Yuki Itchy Nose's amazing talent before. I'm not very interested in ballet, I just want to learn modern dance. Although she was praised by her, Yuki Itchy Nose did not expand, but shook her head. She is very self-aware and knows that her ballet talent is just that. The fundamental reason why she danced ballet so well in the MV was that Brother Guang taught her well, and it was also related to the short time. Brother Guang's ballet level was very high, and his understanding of dance was even more powerful. He taught her some movements step by step. In the MV, the total time she danced was less than 30 seconds. Don't you want to learn ballet? Ballet should be learned from childhood, and it's too late for me to learn now. It's never too late for talented people to do anything. Yuki Itchy Nose was a little embarrassed and didn't know how to reject her enthusiasm. Okay, Itchy Nose, the teacher has a request, I wonder if I can tell you. Seeing her expression, the dance teacher didn't like to embarrass people. He realized that it was wrong and forced himself to calm down. Teacher, please speak. If you have a chance in the future, can you tell everyone that you learned dance in our dance troupe when you are interviewed? This is her main purpose, because Yuki Itchy Nose is so famous that it is simply terrible. Even though their dance group has trained many celebrities and idols, they are not at the same level as Yuki Itchy Nose. You know, Yuki Itchy Nose is an artist of Zero Time Agency and has also reached a cooperation with Master Zero Time. Just one MV is enough to push Yuki Itchy Nose to the altar. If there is still cooperation in the future, it is only a matter of time for Yuki Itchy Nose to stand on the top of Neon as an artist. Even if you don't ask me for this, I will do it. Hearing this request, Yuki Itchy Nose agreed without hesitation. Ms. Igarashi had already told her about this. Indicating which dance group you practice dancing in is like telling fans which school your alma mater is from. It is information that has no harm to be exposed. After talking with the teacher for a while, the teacher went to find a colleague with the good news, and she went back to the dance studio first to warm up and wait for class. However, as soon as she walked into the door, she was surrounded by other students. Itchy Nose, you are so amazing. You actually became the heroine of Master Zero Times MV. Itchy Nose, I didn't expect you to be an artist at Zero Hour Agency. Can you tell me what Zero Hour Agency's requirements and standards are for artists? Itchy Nose, have you seen the real mask of Master Zero Hour? Doesn't it look handsome? In an instant, she seemed to have become the protagonist of the entire dance class, surrounded by everyone. After the dance class ended, it was already 6 o'clock in the evening. Yuki Ichinose returned home and was still taking off her shoes at the entrance when she discovered that there was a guest at home. Several little sisters came, and because they were guests at a girl's home, they didn't bring their boyfriends with them. "Yuki, you are really famous." Aoi Shiina heard the noise and ran out of the living room, naturally to congratulate her. "Yuki, you are really stunningly beautiful." Akazuki was also amazed. She knew that Yuki was very beautiful, naturally beautiful, and had a good foundation. She had always been the good-looking member of the four hot girls. However, Yuki Ichinose appeared in the MV after putting on makeup. With the background music, she was simply stunningly beautiful. The class group and school group are discussing you in an exaggerated way, and they are all going crazy at you showed up. Hitomi Matsushita also gathered around, looking at Yuki Ichinose, extremely proud. "It feels like your friend has suddenly become a super powerful person. Perhaps the difference in fame and status will lead to alienation, but Yuki Ichinose has just become famous, so this is not the case. The villa is very quiet at night and the lights are bright. Kurosawa, could you please make dinner?" Igarashi Runa walked out of the kitchen with a frown on her face, holding a ringing mobile phone. "Of course." Hearing this, Kurosawa Hikaru stood up decisively. If Runa-san didn't like to cook, he wouldn't mind cooking whenever he had the chance. Because mastery level skills not only bring him talents and abilities, but also preferences. Proficient in Japanese cuisine, he truly fell in love with cooking, excluding washing dishes. Entering the kitchen, Kurosawa Hikaru took over the task of cooking dinner and showed off his skills. 20 minutes later, Kurosawa Hikaru walked out carrying the meals one by one. "Have you been chatting for so long?" When Igarashi Runa smiled and exchanged greetings with others and finally hung up the phone, Kurosawa Hikaru asked curiously. "This is not the call just now. I answered 5 calls just while you were cooking." Igarashi Runa shook her head and explained. "There are so many calls, can't you just hang up?" Hikaru Kurosawa couldn't understand the situation. Whether in his previous life or in this life, he has never been so busy that he couldn't stop talking on the phone. Although he has a successful career now, he has a special status as a masked artist, and only a few people in the industry know him. We are all friends in the entertainment industry, so it would be a bad idea not to accept it. They all saw Ichinose's popularity, and they are all eyeing the position of the heroine in your song MV, and they want to fight for it with me." Igarashi Runa sighed, feeling a headache. Unlike Chizuru Ninomiya, who has a Twitter account, but there is no real name authentication and disclosure, and it is only used as a private account, Yuki Ichinose, as an artist and a public figure, has directly taught the industry a lesson. The heroine of 0 Hours song MV is so influential that she gained 3 million followers in one night. As the news continued to ferment during the day, Yuki Ichinose's Twitter account had soared to 7 million followers. In just one day, the number of fans has increased, which is enough to show how exaggerated the rise is. With such exaggerated publicity channels and unbelievable exposure, all the major offices in the industry went crazy. Like hungry wolves that smelled meat, they all pounced on her, wanting to get a piece of the pie for their leading female artist. The effect of becoming famous is much better than the hard work and effort of making movies, TV series, concerts, and running announcements. However, she has no say in the matter of the heroine of the MV. And she couldn't possibly agree to this, because Kurosawa Hikaru's plan was to make Ichinose Yuki famous. It is worth mentioning that because the album was recorded very quickly, Igarashi Runa made a special trip in the afternoon and personally delivered the memory card to the Neon branch of Apple Music. The album audio needs to be further reviewed, even frame by frame, to ensure it is correct. After all, this business is of great importance. The review of 10 songs requires a lot of energy. That being said, Apple gets things done quickly. At 8 o'clock in the evening, Apple contacted Igarashi Runa and sent the draft of the announcement. After confirmation by both parties, the tweet was officially released on Twitter's official account. The content of this tweet is a lot of text, but there are two core contents, that is, 0 Hour's album is distributed by Apple and costs 100 billion yen. The Twitter accounts of 0 Hour and Igarashi Runa also forwarded and replied to this tweet immediately. An update today. Tokyo's Most Affectionate. Author, Wodada Shuchu Wujin. Chapter 554. In the next few days, Kurosawa's actions were normal. I went to the Q dojo on Sunday to play with Mirai archery, and officially sent out an invitation to the concert. I also met with brother Shinichi and talked about the recent Q-do competition. Compared with artists, the speed at which this kind of traditional martial arts can develop a career is too slow. Although it is not difficult to become famous, if you want to establish a sect and establish a dojo to recruit disciples, you must accumulate qualifications. That's it. It's not that he doesn't want to develop the career of archery, so he can only wait for time. I will go skating with Miki Bayu on Monday and seize the time to practice. On Tuesday, I spent time with Yuki-chan in the morning and went to class in the afternoon. Good afternoon, Mr. Kurosawa. As usual, when he took the elevator, Sayaka Akai was already waiting to treat the guests immediately. Although he also arrived early today, unlike before when he was idle, this time he arrived early specifically. While Mirai was still in class and Sayaka Akai was supervising, Kurosawa Hikaru sat in the living room for a while, drank some water, and then took out his mobile phone. Although there are many monitoring devices in this apartment, there are only two places where there is no monitoring, private spaces such as bedrooms and toilets and bathrooms. However, his phone has a privacy screen, so there is no need to worry about being seen what he is doing. And he arrived early, so it was not illegal to play with his mobile phone while waiting for students to finish class. Taking out his mobile phone and running the script he wrote, Kurosawa used Wi-Fi to begin to overcome the monitoring firewall. 3-layer regional firewall, cracked. Crack the internal dynamic password, enter the background, and get the authority. It's done, it's easier than expected. Kurosawa held his breath and concentrated for nearly 3 minutes. When he saw that the picture on the mobile phone screen changed into a surveillance picture composed of multiple small grids, he breathed a sigh of relief and smiled. Because of Akai Sayaka's previous statement, he originally thought that the apartment's monitoring firewall would be difficult to break through, but it was still too childish in the face of such buggy skills of proficient hackers. This is still the case when he only has an experience card. If it is a permanent skill, coupled with a laptop, the speed of conquering will only be faster. There are some fields that place special emphasis on talent, and the gap between geniuses and ordinary people is unimaginably huge. And he is not an outside intruder. Although he cannot directly touch the server host or network port, when connected to the Wi-Fi, the network system of this apartment is directly in front of him. After successfully gaining control of the surveillance system, Kurosawa Hikaru didn't waste any time and quickly used his mobile phone to operate it. Fortunately, all future itineraries are planned and fixed, and life is very regular. Because of this, even if he used video to cover the surveillance, it would be difficult to detect the clues. After spending 15 minutes to get the surveillance done, Kurosawa Hikaru sat on the sofa and waited. At 4:01 p.m., the future music teacher of Sci-fi Yuan walked out of the room. Just like last time, the two people just nodded and said nothing. The teacher also took the elevator to leave with Sayaka Akai seeing her off. "You've been coming very early lately." At the same time, Sci-fi Yuan packed up his things in the future and walked out of the practice room. Maybe she has a personal maid, but this doesn't mean that she will be raised as a useless person who can only stretch her hands with clothes and open her mouth with food. She still has to do many things by herself. This is not about wanting to see you earlier. Kurosawa Hikaru saw that she had come out and immediately stood up to greet her. As he spoke, he reached out to hug her. "What are you doing?" Seeing this action, Saifunjai Yuanmarai blocked it with his hands, pressed his chest, and pursed his lips. Although Agwang's actions in the apartment after meeting her parents did not have to follow the same standards as other teachers. But chatting freely is already the maximum tolerance. It is obviously impossible for the person responsible for monitoring to turn a blind eye to intimate physical contact such as a hug, and will definitely report it. "Hug my lovely girlfriend." However, there was not much difference between her blocking and not blocking. Kurosawa Hikaru's arms were very long, so he still caught her in his arms. It will be seen. Saifunjai Yuanmarai didn't understand what was wrong with him today. Their bodies were close to each other and nestled in his arms. It felt exciting but also difficult to handle. Who saw it? Seeing that she was obviously looking forward to something happening in the apartment, but when it actually happened, she was timid, so Kurosawa pretended not to understand. "Of course it's surveillance. Don't worry, the surveillance can't see what we do. I have already solved it." "Did you find a hacker?" Saifunjai Yuanmarai was stunned when he heard this, and his beautiful eyes suddenly widened. How smart she was, she reacted in the blink of an eye. She had previously encouraged Agwang to find a top-notch hacker to invade the surveillance system, tamper with the data, and use video to overwrite the actual surveillance records. Because Agwang showed no sign of action these days, after she calmed down, she thought it was a whimsical idea and put the idea behind her. The Saifunjai Yuan family's hacker team has very strong technical skills. It is very difficult to find a hacker who can break through the firewall they have set up and who can do it without being noticed. To be precise, I am a hacker. Seeing her worry turn into joy, Kurosawa Hikaru hummed, a little proud. "Do you know how to hack?" When Saifunjai Yuan saw his sultry expression in the future, he realized a possibility and was immediately startled. Could it be that Agwang didn't find a hacker, but took care of the surveillance as a hacker himself? The task progress is updated, which makes her feel excited. The number of times is 4/5. "I have spent this period of time studying and studying." Kurosawa Hikaru nodded and explained after seeing the progress of the task. In fact, he did not know hacking technology before. Even if he had computer-related skills, it did not include this aspect. But his system is so awesome that no matter what the woman needs, he can fulfill her wishes. Having said that, rather than saying that I already know it, it is better to leave the problem to the talent. Have you really taken care of the surveillance? Saifunjai Yuanmarai realized that Agwang had learned hacking skills specifically for her, and was very moved, but she still felt uneasy and confirmed again. "Really, otherwise how could I dare to hug you here?" Kurosawa Hikaru affirmed that he was not worried about this at all. He had just confirmed that the surveillance cameras were useless. "Mr. Kurosawa." At this moment, a voice sounded from behind. Obviously, the humanoid monitor, Sayaka came back after seeing off the guests. No matter how skilled a hacker is, there is no way to hack this humanoid monitor. "Miss, you need to go back to your room and rest for a while before starting class." When he turned around, Sayaka looked at them still hugging each other and said politely, "That's right. You should go back to your room and change clothes first." Kurosawa Hikaru heard the implication of her words and was very reasonable. He stopped hugging her, but after letting go, he gently patted Mirai's butt. Although she will look beautiful in long skirts in the future, why are neon girls so popular in wearing short skirts? It's naturally because they look good. Seeing this scene, Sayaka's face became paralyzed and her expression froze. Isn't this too courageous? After being slapped on the butt by him, Saifunjai Yuanmarai raised her eyes and rolled her eyes at him, then walked towards the stairs and went back to her room. Facing her resentful look, Kurosawa just laughed and walked to the sofa. "Mr. Kurosawa, Your behavior just now is not very appropriate in the apartment. As he sat down and waited, Sayaka Akai also came forward, speaking softly and protesting with a serious expression. Where there is one there are two, and when there are two there are three. She felt it was necessary to curb her behavior just now. If she didn't stop the hug at all this time, the next time it might not be a hug, but a kiss. Ms. Sayaka, do you still remember what I talked to you before? If I hack the surveillance in the apartment, can you consider allowing me and Mirai to be alone in her room for 4 hours? The old god Mitsuru Kurosawa is here, and old things are brought up again. Cannot. Akai Sayaka didn't expect that he was still thinking about this matter, and she refused again with a firm attitude. Don't refuse in a hurry. Take a look at this first. Seeing that her attitude had not changed, Kurosawa was not surprised and handed her the phone. After taking the phone, Sayaka Akai took a look, and her expression couldn't help but change. The picture on the phone was clearly a surveillance picture. The 15 surveillance squares exactly corresponded to the number in the apartment. Maybe she didn't click on any of them to check, but she could see some content and was sure that this was the surveillance of the apartment. What was incredible to her was that Mr. Kurosawa's mobile phone could actually see the surveillance of the apartment. I know you are worried that this matter will be exposed. What if I can guarantee that it will not be exposed? The picture you see is the picture that the people in the monitoring room can see. Seeing the look of shock on her face, Kurosawa opened his mouth at the right time and tried to induce her. He has already thought about it. The reason why the maid allowed him to be alone with the future in Zuifeng Dojo and at the beach was because there was no surveillance and there was a lot of room for manipulation. The key was that no evidence would be left behind. But in the apartment, you are unwilling to agree to it anyway because the risk is too great. How did you do it? Sayaka Akai's expression was very uncalm and extremely horrified. These videos may have no actual value, because the placement of these surveillance cameras has been carefully considered, and absolutely no privacy will be captured. Even so, the fact that Kurosawa Hikaru's mobile phone can see the surveillance footage is incredible and terrifying. I'm very good at hacking. Kurosawa Hikaru crossed his legs and responded. Akai Sayaka's mood was very confusing, and she didn't know how to judge for a moment. Miss Sayaka, who do you think I am? Seeing her fall into silence, Kurosawa simply changed direction. Genius, super genius. In this regard, Sayaka Akai gave the answer without thinking, but felt that it was not enough, so she added more. In fact, genius is a nicer word. In her opinion, Kurosawa Hikaru is a complete monster. The master of Dong University, a master of fighting, innate supernatural power, a prodigy in archery, a prodigy in piano, and even hacking skills, this is not a normal person at all. As a maid, she has been trained since she was a child. She is already versatile in all aspects, but compared with Kurosawa Hikaru, she is nothing and not at the same level. Because she only dabbles in various fields, Kurosawa Hikaru can show terrifying strength no matter which field she is involved in. Thank you for the compliment. What I want to say is that I have absolutely no intention of harming you, and I will never do anything I am not sure about. Kurosawa Hikaru didn't expect her evaluation to be like this. He was stunned for a moment and got back to the topic. Maybe Akai Sayaka was a maid, but he had absolutely no intention of putting her in danger. How sure are you? The risk of exposure made Sayaka Akai unable to agree easily. 90%, and the remaining 10% is an unexpected situation where a guest suddenly comes and is seen by the bodyguard on the first floor. But when a guest comes, you will receive a notification, and the elevator will drop from the 32nd floor to the first floor, and then from the first floor. Take the elevator to the 32nd floor. There is a lot of room for maneuver and we have time to deal with it. I can guarantee you that even if the people in the monitoring room detect an abnormality, they will not find evidence because the script I wrote will automatically delete the data. Seeing that her attitude finally relaxed, Kurosawa Hikaru quickly revealed his full plan. The surveillance can be controlled by him, which is a good thing for him, for the future, and for the maid. Because this means relative freedom, maybe not complete freedom, but for people who have been monitored and controlled all year round, even coming out of the water to take a breath of fresh air is a kind of enjoyment. Only this one time. Akai Sayaka thought for a long time before making up her mind and handed the phone back to him. Once every half-month. Kurosawa Hikaru shook his head. Don't say that he can't be satisfied once, nor can he be satisfied in the future. No, there are no eternal secrets in this world. Akai Sayaka also shook her head. If you want others not to know, you have to do nothing unless you do it yourself. As long as this is done, there will eventually be a risk of exposure. If it is just one time, the risk can be minimized. Good. Kurosawa pondered for a while and chose to agree to her. Once a person's bottom line is broken, it will be broken again and again. He who first tastes the forbidden fruit does not taste it just once. When are you going to take action? Seeing that he gave in, Akai Sayaka was relieved and asked. It's better to choose a different day than to hit it. I'll go into the future's room later. Today's dinner will be a little later. Bingui is very fast. Kurosawa Hikaru made a decision after thinking about it. Can I ask you a question? Akai Sayaka nodded, agreeing, and asked again. Just ask. Kurosawa Hikaru's heart tightened. Could it be that the maid wanted to ask him if his gun would go off? The date this time was in the boudoir, and they were alone together for 4 hours. To be honest, he couldn't tell what would happen. Why 4 hours? Sayaka Akai was curious when he brought it up before. Because in the future of Sci-fi, don't you think the number 4 is just right? Kurosawa Hikaru was stunned for a moment. Naturally, it was impossible to say that it was the mission goal of the date. In a blink of an eye, he thought of a reasonable explanation. An update today. Another book I recommend, We've Traveled Through Tokyo, Who Still Needs a Love Simulation. Introduction, Don't fall in love, you will become unhappy. In the previous life, after his roommate fell in love, his life was worse than that of a dog. He borrowed money from his brothers every day. After graduation, he got engaged and was defrauded of 300,000 in gift money by his ex. After witnessing all this, Asaba Kazuma decided to replan his life after traveling to Tokyo. Set a small goal first to achieve financial freedom. However, the love simulator broke his heart and tried to make him fall in love with the beautiful paper girl and regain his longing for love. Real love? Even dogs don't talk about it? Wouldn't it be more interesting to worship the electronic moon elder, fall in cyber love, and use the rewards for completing the game to become a talented and handsome Tokyo guy? Open up the world for me and let my talent defeat capital. No, I am the capital. System error, sample update started, world simulation in progress. Just as Asaba Kazuma was preparing to reach the pinnacle of life in the real world, she discovered that something was wrong. Wait, what did we say? It was just a game? This book is also known as Paper Man's Repayment, and equal parts of Kazuma, My Girlfriend Ran Out of the Game. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Tokyo's Most Affectionate. Author, Wodada Shuchu Wujin. Chapter 555. After solving the problem of human surveillance, Kurosawa Hikaru no longer hesitated and walked towards the stairs. His steps were fast, without any need for trial, firm and decisive. Are you really not afraid of being seen by the surveillance? Akai Sayaka followed behind him, and seeing this action, she seemed to have realized something. You must know that the eldest lady has a total of 5 tutors. When she was successfully hired, she was told that she must not go to the 2nd floor. If this rule is violated, it must be severely punished. Because the second floor is a private space, under normal circumstances, only the eldest lady and her immediate family members, such as parents, and other maids of her and the Akai family can go up. Even the collateral relatives of the Shifunjayuan family, such as cousins, cannot go up. Before this, Kurosawa Hikaru had always followed this rule. However, today, he broke this rule without hesitation. The spiral staircase went up until Kurosawa Hikaru went up to the second floor, and Akai Sayaka was still waiting for the contact from the monitoring room. It seems that the surveillance is really ineffective. Seeing this scene, Akai Sayaka's heartbeat could not stop accelerating. The eldest lady is under surveillance all year round and has no freedom to speak of. She is no different. The space on the second floor is large, but there are not many doors. This is the eldest lady's bedroom. As long as there is no accident, Mr. Kurosawa can stay as long as you want. Because it was his first time to come to the second floor, Akai Sayaka took the initiative to lead the way and brought him to a door after confirming that the people in the monitoring room were not moving. "Thank you." Kurosawa Hikaru saw her movements and realized that she completely believed in him, and couldn't help but say. Although he was fully confident, the maid was willing to believe him under great pressure and risk. "Dinner will be ready at 9 o'clock. If there is an unexpected situation, I will call the eldest lady directly." Akai Sayaka met his grateful eyes, paused for a while, and said. After that, she bowed slightly, took a few steps back, and turned to leave. 9 o'clock. Kurosawa Hikaru smiled as he watched her back walk to the stairs and disappear around the corner. It was just after 4 p.m., so it seemed that Sayaka Akai's words undoubtedly gave him and Mirai more time to be alone together, at least 4.5 hours. Knock, knock, knock. Kurosawa Hikari looked at the door in front of him again, stretched out his hand and knocked, and waited. In view of the previous situation, Mirai had just finished practicing the piano, and should be doing some hand care and changing clothes. Click. After waiting for a long time, the door was finally opened. Shifunjayuan Mirai was wearing a black and white dress, and her slender and straight legs were wrapped in 0D ultra-thin black and white silk, and she was wearing a black and white double evil outfit. Task progress update, let her feel excited times 5/5, mission goal completed. As the system sounded, Kurosawa Hikari subconsciously glanced at her extremely seductive outfit, and raised his eyes to meet a pair of beautiful eyes. Those were Shifunjayuan Mirai's eyes, looking at him with a smile. Seeing her light and happy smile, which was worth cherishing for a lifetime, Kurosawa Hikaru also smiled, took a step forward and stretched his hand through her waist, hugged her, and kissed her lips directly. Their lips touched, fragrant and pleasant. Task progress update kiss times 1/10. That's right, since the mission was triggered, this was the first time he kissed Shifunjayuan Mirai. This was helpless, her situation was completely different from other girls. Maybe there were no cameras in the Chasing Wind dojo, and she had relative freedom, and she didn't even need to practice archery, and could watch YouTube and movies together. But unless Akai Sayaka agreed in advance to let her go away, she would fulfill her maid's duties and watch as a human surveillance. After kissing for more than 10 seconds, Kurosawa Hikaru stopped. Kissing directly. Shifunjayuan Mirai felt his initiative, her pretty face flushed, blaming his eagerness, but the corners of her mouth were smiling and laughing. In response, Kurosawa Hikaru didn't say anything, but just carried her into the room, closed the door with his foot, and kissed her again. Task progress update kiss 2/10 times. Maybe the dating task has a goal, but in fact, this kind of thing is exactly what he wants to do. You don't know how hard it is to kiss you once. After kissing again, Kurosawa Hikaru was no longer impatient, and finally felt satisfied and sighed. Is it difficult? Shifunjayuan Mirai didn't take it seriously when she heard this, and tiptoed to peck him lightly on the lips. This kiss was like a dragonfly touching the water, and it left as soon as it touched, but it was heart-stirring. Seeing that she was so cute and moving, Kurosawa Hikaru was not to be outdone, and also lowered his head and kissed her lips lightly. You take a bite, I take a bite, as if to make up for the longing for these days since the last beach elopement. Task progress update: kiss 10/10 times, goal completed. In a blink of an eye, the system's voice rang. However, the two of them still kissed happily, one kiss after another, both with a smile on their faces. How much time do we have this time? After kissing dozens of times, Shifunjayu Mirai did not fight back, but asked. She was in the room just now and didn't know what Kurosawa Hikaru and the maid were talking about. More than 4 hours, go down to eat at 9 o'clock in the evening. In response to this question, Kurosawa Mitsuki raised his hand and raised 4 fingers. So long. Hearing this time, even though Shifunjayu Mirai was well informed, he was also shocked and covered his O-shaped mouth with his hand. This time span is too big, from 1 hour to 4 hours. Just now, she kissed fiercely, thinking that there was not much time, and she had to kiss enough at once, but she never thought it would be like this. How did you convince her? Then, Shifunjayu Mirai was curious. Rely on personal charm. Kurosawa Mitsuki raised his chin and said proudly. Seeing his smug little expression, Shifunjayu Mirai looked up at him, not knowing how to complain. What kind of look is that? Don't I have personal charm? Seeing this reaction, Kurosawa Mitsuki's smug smile gradually disappeared, and he was speechless. Of course you have charisma, but it's unrealistic to convince her with just this. She's not that easy to deal with. Seeing him frown, Shifunjayu Mirai raised her hands and gently pulled his cheeks to make him happy. She grew up with a kaiseiaka since she was a child, and she knew very well how difficult this maid was. But the problem is that I really rely on charisma, maybe also on actions and strength. Kurosawa Hikaru didn't want to lie to her, but he also realized that his statement was too general, so he added. I see, let's not talk about this. Didn't you say you wanted to see my room before? Shifunjayu Mirai didn't ask any more questions, didn't want to waste time, and took his hand and walked away. This room is really big. Being dragged away by her, Kurosawa Hikaru finally saw her room. It's more like a large flat than a room, and it looks very wide. There are various art paintings hanging on the wall, many antiques on the cabinets, and screens that look expensive and exquisitely crafted. The European luxury sofa of unknown brand, LCD TV over 100 inches, and the chandelier that seems to be made of crystal. There is also a cloakroom, which is filled with all kinds of high heels, exquisite and luxurious clothes, and bags of various luxury brands. The bathroom is also very large, larger than many people's rental houses. The terminal is the master bed behind the super large wall high screen, which is at least 4 meters wide. At first glance, it is a big bed that only princesses in ancient times can have. Yes, it is a princess bed, which looks very beautiful and gorgeous. This bed is so big, aren't you afraid to sleep alone at night? Seeing such a big bed, Kurosawa Hikaru turned around and asked after being shocked. I am afraid, but what's the use of being afraid, and no one will sleep with me. When Shifunjayu Mirai heard such a feeling, she was immediately amused, and then she said in a pretentious and tea-flavored way. How can there be no one? Isn't there me? Seeing her look like a good sister, Kurosawa Hikaru's left hand suddenly became dishonest and hugged her small waist from behind. I have to say that Mirai has a really good figure. In terms of height, she is very similar to Ninomiya Chizuru, both of them are in the early 170s. In terms of figure, Mirai has been practicing dancing since she was a child, and her curves are super graceful, while Ninomiya Chizuru's curves are super sexy. Should I be more afraid? Seeing his shameless look, Shifunjayu Mirai curved her lips, and her beautiful eyes were full of autumn waves? Nonsense, you can rest assured with me here. Being looked at by her eyes that seemed to be thickening and drawing silk, Kurosawa Hikaru looked serious and spoke righteously. Although he said this, his actions meant something else. He put his arm around her waist and took her to the big bed. Agwang, where are you taking me? Shifunjayuan Mirai was taken away by him, pretending not to understand, which sounded like a bitch. You practiced the piano for so long today, you should be tired, let's sit down and rest for a while. Seeing her pretending not to understand, Kurosawa Hikaru also cooperated, just like a big bad wolf luring little red hare. As they talked, they sat down on the bed, shoulder to shoulder, hand in hand. They were having fun just now, but when they really touched the bed, the two of them suddenly stopped talking. Because a man and a woman, playing on the bed, what will happen is too obvious. The two were silent for a while. Kurosawa Mitsuru turned his head to look at her, and their eyes met. Looking at her beautiful face and her tender lips, Kurosawa Mitsuru took action and slowly moved his head forward. The two faces were getting closer and closer, and they could even feel each other's breathing. Little by little, until they were close, Kurosawa Mitsuru slightly tilted his head and pressed his lips on her soft lips like marshmallows again. Shifunjayuan Mirai's heartstrings were directly melted by his gentle and formal kiss. They had more than 4 hours this time, but only more than 4 hours. A couple who love each other finally have the opportunity to be alone together. If they don't do something, it's just a waste of feelings. Tokyo's Most Affectionate. Author, Wodada Shuchu Wujin. Chapter 556. No monitoring means that no one will know what you do. Sayaka Akai had a great time this afternoon. Maybe she won't be monitored by cameras in her room or when she's taking a shower. But in fact, she has restrictions on whether she takes a bath or sleeps. For example, her bath time cannot even exceed 15 minutes. As for sleeping, she has never slept until she woke up naturally since she was a child. The alarm clock has been with her for countless years. She sat on the sofa in the living room for more than 10 minutes, and after waiting for no contact from the monitoring room, she gradually became bolder. He took his feet out of his shoes, put his legs together, and squatted on the sofa with his feet wrapped in white socks. After making such an action, she raised her eyes and looked at the nearest surveillance camera. It's really okay. Akai Sayaka observed for a while and felt very excited. After trying again and again, nothing happened, and her suspense finally came to an end. Immediately, she reached out and grabbed the socks and took off the little white socks. For her, one of the few joys in life is when she works until 11 p.m. every day. After the eldest lady goes back to her room to rest, she goes back to her room and takes off her maid uniform, socks, and bra. Such behavior can make her feel a short period of leisure. After successfully untying her restraints, she lay down on the sofa, took out her mobile phone, opened YouTube skillfully, and started to browse the videos on the homepage. Unlike before, she sometimes had to watch videos based on emails sent by her family, keep up with current events, and observe social news and trends at any time. At this moment, she can choose videos to watch according to her own preferences. And her hobby is cute pets, cats, pandas, dogs, all kinds of cute animals. In addition, she will also watch snack videos. Perhaps it was because she had no freedom since she was a child, but under the influence of her ears and eyes, she naturally liked piano and violin music because she knew so much. From 4 p.m. to 8:20 p.m., Sayaka Akai has been immersed in the ocean of the internet. If possible, she actually wanted to go out and play, even just walking around alone, but this was obviously impossible. If she wanted to live like this, she would have to wait until Mr. Kurosawa married the eldest lady and started a family. Of course, like a girl addicted to the internet, she was immersed in the world of the internet for more than 4 hours. She didn't have to worry about being stared at, she didn't have to worry about being blamed for her behavior, and she didn't need to worry about anything. Such a waste of time was an unprecedented luxury experience for her. On the sofa, tossing and turning, lying down, falling asleep, or even hanging his legs upside down on the back of the sofa, with his upper body lying on the ground. Isn't it already 8 o'clock? It's time to prepare dinner. Playing with her mobile phone in various postures, Sayaka Akai noticed the time. Even if she wanted this time to last, she had to get up. Putting on her pure white socks and leather shoes, she stood up, straightened her messy clothes, took a few deep breaths, and her relaxed expression returned to her usual indifference. Walking into the kitchen, she started preparing dinner. Making dinner is not difficult, because someone will bring fresh ingredients every morning, and she only needs to make dishes related to the specific ingredients. She made dinner and headed upstairs. Knock knock knock. At 8:55, Sayaka Akai, who had prepared dinner, came to the eldest lady's room and knocked on the door. For the sake of privacy, the walls are soundproof to prevent the partition walls from having ears, but the sound of knocking on the door can still be heard in the room. Could they have accidentally fired in broad daylight during the past 4 hours? Although it was a little late to think about this matter now, after enjoying the free time, Akai Sayaka calmed down and thought about the terrifying unfolding. It should be fine, Mr. Kurosawa and the eldest lady are both measured people. However, she knew that worrying and regretting were meaningless behaviors, so she comforted herself by recalling the situation of renting a house at the beach before. You cannot have sex before getting married. This is the wish of the old master of the family, and Mr. Kurosawa will not go against the wishes of the old master of the family. She was at the beach before, even though there was a wall between them, she heard some strange noises. But afterwards, she observed carefully, the eldest lady and Mr. Kurosawa did have a pleasant time alone, but they did not make it to the last step. After a while, the door was opened. Mr. Kurosawa, dinner is ready, please move to the dining room. Sayaka Akai saw the appearance of the two people and glanced at them subconsciously. Then she stepped aside and reported the situation with her head slightly lowered. After doing this, she secretly breathed a sigh of relief, because the eldest lady's complexion looked very normal, without any redness or blush. Good. Kurosawa nodded and started walking. Following his footsteps, Saifunji Yuan also held his arm and walked with him. Seeing them moving around, Akai Sayaka noticed the eldest lady's somewhat stiff steps, and her heart suddenly sank, and an unpleasant feeling came to her mind. On weekdays, the young lady walks steadily and gracefully, thanks to her practice of archery and dancing since childhood, which has trained her back to be straight and her core strength to be even stronger. But at this moment, the young lady's walking posture is as if she is injured. It hurts to walk, and it is inevitable that there is a little bit of disharmony. Could this be an accidental discharge? Akai Sayaka was extremely horrified, and a sense of panic surged in her heart. If the young lady and Mr. Kurosawa really made it to the last step, once this matter was exposed, she would definitely be called back to the family to be punished. Miss Sayaka, what's wrong? Just then, Kurosawa Mitsuru, who was walking in front, turned around and noticed her pale face, and asked with concern. How could you do this? Akai Sayaka came back to her senses, feeling that she was deceived, and looked at him with regret and anger. They had agreed before that they would be sensible and would never mess around. Miss Sayaka, I don't know what you are talking about. Can you tell me what I did? Kurosawa Mitsuru was very calm in the face of her anger. Akai Sayaka wanted to ask him if they had made it to the last step, but seeing his calm attitude, she felt something was wrong. Because Kurosawa Hikaru's reaction did not seem guilty at all, and he did not look like someone who had done something wrong. No, I'm sorry, I made a mistake. After thinking for a moment, Akai Sayaka shook her head, and her expression gradually calmed down. As a maid, She also took care of the duties of a bodyguard, and she knew that she had to stay calm and not lose her composure. Whether Mr. Kurosawa and the young lady had made it to the last step, it was no longer important. Perhaps once this matter was exposed, she would be guilty and would definitely die. But in fact, when she turned a blind eye to Mr. Kurosawa entering the young lady's boudoir and pretended not to see it, she put herself in danger and had to go all the way. Whether it was cohabitation before marriage or the interaction between Mr. Kurosawa and the young lady, concealing it and not reporting it, it was like betrayal and surrendering to the enemy, which was a capital crime. And just like the surveillance camera being hacked and tampered with the data, there will be no traces left. In fact, having sex before marriage will not leave any traces. Because whether a girl is having sex for the first time cannot be judged from external factors, and a simple physical examination cannot tell. She can only put her hope on Mr. Kurosawa and the eldest lady, hoping that they will not be exposed. She has already boarded the pirate ship and there is no way out. Let's go, I'm hungry, let's go eat together. Kurosawa Hikaru saw that she had figured it out, and there was no need for him to waste his words. He sighed in his heart that it was comfortable to deal with smart people, nodded and invited. Yes. Akai Sayaka figured it out, her serious expression relaxed, and nodded slightly. After that, Kurosawa Hikaru led the way and walked in front, heading downstairs. I said it was okay. Along the way, Shifunji Yuenmurai, who was holding his arm, was laughing. You are so embarrassed to say that, and you said it won't be exposed, but it was seen at once. Seeing her reaction, Kurosawa Hikaru was a little helpless. Although the result was good, it must be said that his behavior betrayed the maid's trust. I can't help it. You walked too far, it's different from what you practiced in the room just now, and it's not your fault. Shifunji Yuenmurai cried out for injustice and glared at him again. Faced with such accusations, Kurosawa Hikaru wanted to defend himself, because it was all because she was too good at flirting that led to such a result. However, he swallowed his words back as soon as he opened his mouth. Arguing with your girlfriend about right and wrong is a very stupid behavior, and people who get the advantage and still act cute are very hateful. Although the area of this apartment is very large, there are too many rooms on the first floor. In order to maximize the utilization of space, the dining room is not an independent compartment. Ms. Sayaka, there is no surveillance anyway, sit down and eat together. When he came to sit down at the dining table, Kurosawa Hikaru saw Akai Sayaka standing next to him as usual, so he invited her. Akai Sayaka did not respond to this invitation, but just looked at the eldest lady. Kwang said so, please sit down and eat. Shifunji Yuenmurai knew that she was waiting for her to express her opinion. Finally, she had achieved her goal. She was in a good mood at this moment. Moreover, it was a good sign to let the maid come to the table to eat together. Since the young lady and Mr. Kurosawa have given this order, I would rather obey your order than leave you alone. Akai Sayaka saw that their attitudes were the same, so she stopped being shy and agreed. Miss Sayaka, where are you going? Kurosawa Hikaru was quite happy to see her agree, but he found that she turned and walked away, and he was puzzled. My food is in the kitchen. Akai Sayaka turned around to face him again, answered his doubts, and then went to the kitchen. After a while, she came back with a few dishes on a tray. From the dishes, her dinner was no different from the one on the table. Maybe the maid was not qualified to eat with the master, but her treatment in many aspects of food, clothing, housing, and transportation was not bad at all. Here's the first update. I've been a bit busy these past 2 days. I have to get up early tomorrow to take my baby and wife to the hospital for a follow-up checkup. Tokyo's Most Affectionate. Author, Wodada Shuchu Wujin. Chapter 557. The next day was September 21st, and there were only less than 2 days left until the pair skating competition day, September 23rd. No matter what kind of competition it is, for the contestants, even if it cannot be said that they have been sharpening their swords for 10 years, it is still a big stage that has consumed a lot of energy and time to prepare. Taking this opportunity, Kurosawa Hikaru and Miki Shiraha began to practice pair skating hard. However, he did not forget to go to private tutoring classes. There are 24 hours in a day, and the time is fixed, not more or less. Once people get busy, time will pass unknowingly. In a blink of an eye, it is already the day of the competition. Yoyogi National Gymnasium, the first gymnasium, is the venue for figure skating pairs in the Kanto region. This building with a new structure is hailed as one of the most beautiful buildings in the world in the 20th century. It was designed by the neon architecture master, Kenzo Tange. Various sports events are held here all year round. During the summer vacation, various competitions can be seen every day. At 7:50 in the morning, various vehicles arrived one after another and parked in the open-air parking lot outside the venue. Among them, there is also a Mercedes-Benz Maybach. Even though there are many cars, the moment the Maybach appeared, it directly attracted the attention of the people nearby. Many people were shocked to see the silver and black two-color assembly, super long model, beautiful streamline and calm top-of-the-line Maybach. Whose car is this? Too luxurious, right? This car is so beautiful, it must cost at least 10 million, right? This car is super expensive at first glance, which is really eye-opening. I have never heard of any player who is so rich. It's outrageous that such a powerful person can participate in this small regional competition. Compared with the price, people are more curious about the owner of this car. Under the attention of everyone, the Maybach reversed and parked in the parking space, and the door was opened. Then, a man with black hair like ink, neat hair, tall and slender figure, young and handsome appearance, walked down from the main driver's seat. Who is this handsome guy? Does anyone know? Some cars are born with them, and if you are not born with them, then you don't have them. It's really enviable to have such a good car at such a young age. What is there to envy? Doesn't he just have a rich father? As he appeared, the passers-by and players who were looking forward to it were in a commotion. Although this man is very handsome, he is extremely unfamiliar to those who like to watch figure skating competitions and figure skaters. Before the discussion started, the door of the co-pilot seat was opened and a beautiful figure walked down. Her white hair was like snow, her light blue eyes were like jade, her skin was like cream, her figure was slender and graceful, and under the early sun, she was wearing a white dress, as if her whole body was covered with a layer of dreamy brilliance. Unlike Kurosawa Hikaru, an unknown figure in the figure skating world, Miki Shiraha is very famous in the figure skating world. Perhaps on weekdays, when she walked on the street, not many people could recognize her. But this is not the street, but the occasion of the Kanto figure skating pairs competition. Basically, the people who come here early in the morning are either skaters or spectators who like to watch figure skating. Even though many spectators may not know how to skate, they have been watching the competition for many years and are familiar with various skaters and technical movements. Is this the figure skating princess? With the suffocation and silence, someone was shocked and recognized the identity of the white-haired girl at a glance. Is this the skater Miki? Some people felt familiar and found it unbelievable. In the past, Miki Shiraha was named a genius, and because of her beautiful face like an elf, she was honored as the figure skating princess of Hokkaido. She became famous at a young age and has never lost since her debut. She has won various championships every year in the junior group. Not only did she win the domestic competition in Japan, she also fought outside Asia and competed with the new generation of figure skaters from other countries, winning the women's single figure skating championship and even the highest score record in women's single skating. She was like a comet born, riding away from the dust, with the blessing of countless victories, and a halo was added to her. In the past, Countless people praised Miki Shiraha, believing that she was the most gifted, talented, and beautiful female figure skater since the 21st century, and her career was destined to be brilliant. But when Miki Shiraha was 16 years old, she finally met the entry standards for the World Championships. On the eve of participating in the World Championships of the same year, bad news came. Miki was unfortunately injured during training, and the injury was serious. She retired due to injury. This news made countless ice fans in Japan feel regretful and desperate. There are also speculations about Miki's injury. The age range of the World Youth Championship is 16–20 years old. After heated discussions, the most reasonable statement is that the stage competition of the World Youth Championship is too competitive. Miki, who just turned 16, was eager for success and made more arduous efforts than ever before to win the championship, so that he was injured. Is that handsome guy her boyfriend? They are rich and pretty. Don't be jealous. Not only are they rich, but they are pretty too. They are handsome and pretty. Today is pairs skating. Miki and a boy came over. Are they here to watch the game? They are not here to participate, are they? There were rumors before that Miki was practicing pairs skating with a handsome guy at the Wiwan skating rink. Now it seems that this news is true. It's a lie, she is a genius in singles skating. If she recovers from her injury and can come back, why would she switch to pairs skating? As soon as the identity was recognized, some people suddenly became confused. Although the attendance rate of pairs figure skating is higher than that of singles skating, because pairs skating is the most spectator sport among the 4 major figure skating events. It's not surprising that single skaters would come to watch the competition, but the problem is that Miki Shiraha is different from ordinary skaters. She has been away from the figure skating world for many years. As a result, she suddenly came to the arena today, making people curious as to what her purpose was. You are so popular. Everyone is looking at you. The Maybach is not even as charming as you. Realizing that all the eyes around him were focused on one point, Kurosawa Hikaru opened the trunk and took out a large shoulder bag, also teasing. The eyes of the onlookers were very strange, as if people were seeing a big star. This situation reminded him of a supermodel in his previous life, Sarah Sampaio, who paved the way for the world's top supercars such as the Bugatti Voice of the Night. For a moment, people couldn't tell who was more eye-catching. Compared to you, this is nothing. Miki Bio looked around, facing the crowd of 70 or 80 people, he was not affected at all, but sighed. In terms of charm, Kurosawa-senpai is truly invincible. In the Bao Dojo of the Budokan, Kurosawa Hikaru, who represents Tokyo University, as well as the Masked Pianist and Zero-Hour Master, are all unique and invincible. No matter which stage he stood on, he could touch everyone's heartstrings with just a raise of his hands and feet. She will never forget that when Kurosawa-senpai came on stage at the Budokan, the whole audience cheered and shouted with such momentum that it seemed like it was about to lift the ceiling. That overwhelming momentum, like a tsunami, wanted to destroy everything. Even before she retired, she could not compare to the glorious moment when she fought hard against talented girls from the powerful figure skating countries, Mexico and the United States to win the championship. She couldn't even imagine what the players who were competing against Kurosawa-senpai felt like facing such a terrifying momentum. What I just said was not to compete with you, but to cheer you up. Seeing her reaction, Kurosawa felt helpless and reached out to pinch her little face. For her, this game is her first comeback after retiring due to injury. Her competitive status is unknown, so she needs more encouragement. Senior is still in the mood to cheer me up. Isn't it too easy? It's obviously my first time participating in a figure skating competition. Bending down and taking out his shoulder bag from the trunk, Miki Bai realized his purpose and couldn't help but say, "Do I look relaxed?" After pressing the automatic closing button of the trunk, Kurosawa said in confusion, "Not ordinary relaxation. Mickey Bio nodded and looked at him in surprise. Although not being nervous on the field is the competitive state that every player pursues, but the senior is too relaxed. Judging from his look and expression, he was just like usual. People who didn't know better would have thought that he was here to watch the game, not to compete. Because this is a small competition, there is no need to be nervous. Hikaru Kurosawa is indeed very relaxed, because master-level skating and master-level ballet, as well as these days of extra training before the competition day, have given him unlimited confidence. In the past, at the martial arts gym, he drew cheers from the audience with his perfect archery skills. Experiencing the peak moment sublimated his vision and mentality. Not to mention that this is a small figure skating pairs skating competition in the Kanto region. Even if it is the Winter Olympics or the World Championship Finals, he will not have stage fright. The pressure that the competition brings to him is not even as great as meeting his parents. You're right. Mickey Bio was stunned when he heard this and then reacted. Yes, this is a small competition, just a competition held by various regions in Neon to promote the sport of skating. And although she is still very famous, she has retired for many years and no longer carries the expectations of countless people like she did before. In this competition, it doesn't matter even if they fail to win the championship. After all, they have only been learning pairs skating for a long time, and it only took half a month to complete the competition. When it comes to training time, it was only a few days. With the emergence of this thought, the arc of her brows relaxed a bit. Let's go. Kurosawa Hikaru saw that the arc of her brows relaxed slightly, and finally calmed down, locked the car and took steps. Although it was his first time to come to the Yoyogi National Gymnasium and he didn't know the way at all, it didn't stop him from walking without any hesitation. Because there are some signboards on the road to guide the way. As long as you are not blind or illiterate, you will definitely reach the stadium if you follow them. Seeing him walking first, Mickey Bio immediately followed him. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Tokyo's Most Affectionate. Author, Wodada Shuchu Wujin. Chapter 558. Yoyogi National Stadium is a large venue that has hosted many well-known sports events. The pairs skating competition will start at 9:30. There was more than an hour left before the start of the game. The backstage of the players in the venue and the passage were extremely lively. Tall, slender, and graceful beauties can be seen everywhere here, as if they were backstage at a beauty pageant. There are many handsome guys who are tall, strong, and somewhat elegant, and you can even see handsome boys occasionally. Figure skating is different from basketball, football, etc., because you have to practice dancing since childhood, and many skating moves require long-term practice. Basically everyone has a good figure, and they are both handsome and beautiful. When Kurosawa Hikaru and Miki Shiraba came to the backstage where visitors were not allowed to enter, they turned heads wherever they passed. First, Mickey Bio is too famous. Maybe they retired due to injury and have been out of the public eye for more than 3 years, but the players who come specifically to compete all have a passion for figure skating. The figure skating princess of Hokkaido has been so famous and accomplished. Whether it is early or late, everyone has seen videos of her competitions more or less. Secondly, this pairing is so eye-catching. Their appearance seems to represent the peak of appearance. They are not as simple as beautiful and handsome, but super beautiful and super handsome. Many players met acquaintances and had friendly exchanges before the game, talking and laughing. Even in Neon, figure skating is very famous and is a national-level sport, but there are still very few people who really study it, put in the effort to practice, and participate in competitions. This is a small circle, and since this is a competition in the Kanto region, the circle is even smaller, and the contestants usually look familiar. In such a small circle, any news will be known. For example, Miki Shiraha practiced pairs skating with a boy at the foreign aid skating rink in Tokyo, and he skated very well. This rumor is also known to all players. She actually comes to participate in this kind of competition, as a pairs skater. Although they had heard about it for a long time, some people were still shocked when they actually saw Miki Baiha coming to the backstage of the contestants. In this day and age, there are too many fake news, and many people do not take the rumors seriously. That's why when the truth appears before our eyes, it's really surprising. Stop practicing singles skating and practice pairs skating instead. Does she think she is also a genius in pairs skating? Some people felt very unbalanced when they saw the scene. Athletes are mostly competitive by nature, otherwise they would not be able to endure hard training. Where did she find her male companion? The conditions are too good. There was a small and cute girl who was really surprised and deeply attracted by Kurosawa Hikaru's appearance. Good looks don't mean good conditions. What's the point of looking good but not useful? The male companion who was following her felt very uncomfortable when he heard this. He folded his arms and snorted sourly. Contestant Miki is so beautiful. A boy was really fascinated when he saw Miki Bayu. You like her so much, go skate with her. Upon hearing this, the female companion immediately became unhappy. Such a reaction is not limited to this pair. Pair skating is very similar to pas de deux. Both men and women need to cooperate, get along day and night, and practice together. Of the 10 pairs, 5 will usually become lovers. The remaining 5 pairs, even if they have not become lovers yet, will still have an ambiguous relationship, more than friends, but less than lovers. In this situation, who can bear to see his companions being attracted by other people? Princess figure skating. I started learning figure skating after watching your competition videos. Can you sign an autograph for me? At this moment, a female fan plucked up the courage and walked forward to block the way. Miki Baiha was very friendly to fans and signed autographs for her on the spot. After a while, they followed the street signs in the passage and found the locker room, and separated for the time being. In the locker room, someone from the organizer is in charge of management. They use their mobile phones to confirm the player numbers and open the corresponding cabinets. Because he had never participated in figure skating circles before and was unfamiliar with the place, Kurosawa Hikaru did not interact with anyone and just started changing clothes in front of the cabinet. During daily training, he can wear whatever he wants. But not in competitions. Even if it is a small competition, the rules are the rules, serious and formal. Who is this handsome guy? He doesn't look simple. Seeing him walking to the cabinet without saying a word, someone was attracted by his handsome appearance. He is the male partner of player Miki. I just asked around and no one recognized him. He must have never participated in the competition. There was a man who had changed his clothes a long time ago and made a special trip to the locker room. He found someone curious and broke the news. Player Miki? Are you talking about the Miki player I know? Is it true? Player Miki is here to participate in the competition. Isn't she a single skater? Didn't she retire? Hearing this, there was a commotion in the locker room. Really? Miki is the figure skating princess of Hokkaido, I saw her just now. She seems to be making a comeback, turning to pairs skating and competing with this guy. Why should he? Just because he's handsome. This guy deserves to die. I'll slap this kind of skinny guy. After confirming the authenticity of the news, the 7 boys who were changing clothes in the locker room immediately looked at him unkindly. Female stars fans are usually mostly boys, and vice versa. Maybe Miki Shiraha is not an artist, but she is also an idol of countless people in the figure skating world. Even if they are not practicing single skating, this does not affect their admiration for female players in the figure skating world. Skinny guy. Kurosawa Hikaru put his bag in the cabinet and took out the costume competition suit. He didn't care about everyone's discussion, but when he heard this comment, he was immediately happy and looked over. The person who said this was very tall, nearly 1.9 meters tall. After changing into the competition suit, he had muscles in his thighs and arms and looked very strong. In the figure skating pair skating event, the standard height of male players is between 180–190 centimeters, which requires extremely high physical fitness. They need to cooperate with their female partners to do many difficult movements and are usually very strong. The standard height of female players is about 160 centimeters, not too tall. The taller you are, the heavier you will inevitably be, which will bring more burden in the coordination of pair skating. What are you looking at? The 189 centimeters tall man was not afraid of being discovered and stared at by the main person for saying harsh words. His face darkened and he asked fiercely. Kurosawa Hikaru found him so arrogant, but he didn't say anything, just retracted his gaze. In daily life, Japanese people socialize with others. Their personalities are usually dull and introverted, very polite and reasonable. People with fierce personalities like this are actually rare. They may be athletes with strong physiques and strength. They think of themselves as strong people, so their personalities are so hot. Immediately, he put his competition clothes in the cabinet and began to take off his clothes. He grabbed the collar of the t-shirt with both hands, lifted it up, and took off his shirt. Because the action of taking off clothes deliberately stretched his body, his strong muscles were taut and full of lines, like a cheetah stretching his muscles. Such a body is not as exaggerated as that of a bodybuilder, but the abdominal muscles, chest muscles, and biceps are all obviously full of powerful explosive power. Do you want to wrestle to see who is the skinny one? Showing his capital, Kurosawa Mitsuru turned sideways and looked at him. He doesn't like to cause trouble, but he is never afraid of trouble. He enjoys being envied and jealous by others, but being looked down upon by others makes people unhappy. Anyway, Bayu, as a girl, takes more time to change clothes, so it's just right to play with her during this gap. As he spoke, the envious and unhappy eyes of the crowd suddenly changed, and they felt daunted. They didn't expect that this handsome man had such a strong body under his clothes. Come on. In response to this counterattack, the arrogant man naturally couldn't retreat. Perhaps there is a visible gap between them in terms of body shape, but men are all competitive. Pay attention to the degree, no fighting. The staff in charge of managing the locker room saw the scene and only reminded them, not stopping them. Athletes are hot-blooded and like to compete. Competitions such as arm wrestling and strength competition are very common. Because in the pair skating combination, the male players are usually very strong and need to help the female complete the throw, lift, spiral and other movements. Putting aside the technique, strength is very important. Let's use this platform. Seeing him accept the challenge, Kurosawa Mitsuru looked around and found a platform with a good height, and walked over to move it. At the same time, someone went out to say hello, and attracted a lot of men. For men, arm wrestling is a very interesting way of fighting. Who is strong and who is weak can be known after a competition. After a while, more than 20 men gathered in the locker room. How to compete? Seeing Kurosawa Mitsuru move the platform over and put it away, the man walked up and sat down. 1 round to decide the winner, according to the normal rules. Kurosawa Mitsuru also sat down and responded casually. The rules of arm wrestling are very simple. Just sit on both sides of the table, use your right hand to compete for strength, clasp your thumbs together, and the winner is the one who knocks the opponent's hand down on the table. I will be the referee. Both players adjust their postures and put their elbows on the table. At this time, the locker room manager volunteered to come over. Does Tsushima want to arm wrestle with others? What's the situation? Just now Tsushima said that he was a skinny guy and he slapped him, so he proposed to arm wrestle to see who was better. The people who came to the locker room to watch the show recognized Tsuhima. Perhaps being tall does not mean that figure skating must be strong, because this is a sport that compares skills and tacit understanding, not just strength. But Tsuhima's skills are quite strong, and his combination usually gets good results in small competitions. With elbows on the table, both sides clasp their right hands together and clasp each other's thumbs tightly. Tsuhima, who was very arrogant just now, did not say anything harsh before the game. He just looked serious and raised his buttocks, adjusted his breathing and mentality, and tried his best to be in the best condition without taking the enemy lightly. In front of so many people, if he lost, he would be laughed at. After the countdown, the game will begin. 3, 2, 1. When the countdown was over, Tsuhima, who was already prepared, took a deep breath, held his breath, used all his strength, and suddenly pulled the trigger, hoping to fight quickly and with explosive power. Boom! However, this pull did not move at all, and there seemed to be a buzzing sound in Tsuhima's mind. In just the moment of wrestling, he had the illusion that he was trying to shake a big mountain. How can this be? With such thoughts in his mind, Tsuhima felt unbelievable and angry, and raised his eyes to look at the other party. Looking at it, he realized that compared to his state of exerting all his strength, the other party was doing it with ease, and even looked at him mockingly with a smile on his lips. What's more, the pretty boy's arm muscles are not completely tense, as if he didn't use all his strength. Facing that astonished look, Kurosawa Hikaru finally began to exert strength, grasped his right hand tightly, and slowly pressed down bit by bit. Perhaps being crushed all at once can make people realize their overwhelming power. But the pressure gradually becomes more torturous. No. Being pressed down by him little by little, Tsuhima suddenly panicked, his veins popped out, and he used all his strength. Tsuhima, please try harder. Seeing him struggling, others cheered him on. Tsuhima has offended the wrong person. Is contestant Miki's male partner so scary? The audience standing behind Hikaru Kurosawa's side in admiration. Because standing at the back, they all saw how exaggerated Kurosawa's back muscles were. This discovery was astonishing. I never expected that Kurosawa Hikaru, a person who looked so gentle and elegant, could be so physically strong. You lose. Kurosawa Hikaru pressed Tsuhima's right hand little by little on the table. The winner was decided. You're awesome. Tsuhima felt aggrieved at the loss, but he also knew that he couldn't beat him, so he didn't clamor for another try. Tsuhima, you hit the iron plate. Seeing this scene, someone couldn't deal with Tsuhima and ridiculed. This is a small circle. Tsuhima has a hot temper, is quite arrogant, and offends a lot of people. However, there are few people who can directly teach him a lesson like Kurosawa Hikaru. Handsome, what's your name? Can I compare with you? At this moment, someone spoke eagerly. When a ring like arm wrestling is set up, both men and women will want to play. My name is Kurosawa Hikaru. There will be a competition later and I have to change my clothes. If you want to play, you can have some fun. Kurosawa shook his head and did not agree. He and Tsuhima were wrestling with each other just to compete, but it was meaningless to compete with others. After that, he stood up and moved away from his position. Yamada, let's compare. Seeing a ready-made arm wrestling ring, some people had itchy hands and invited their friends to have a try. For a time, the atmosphere in the locker room was very heated. Because arm wrestling is so attractive to men and full of attractions, he is no longer hotly discussed, but there are still a few men staring at him. However, Kurosawa Hikaru didn't care, as he wouldn't lose a piece of flesh if he was looked at by someone of the same sex. What's more, he wants to change clothes, not take a bath. He won't take off his clothes, at least he will keep a pair of boxer briefs. After a while, he changed into his competition clothes, took out the bag for skates from his backpack, and walked out. Watching him walk out of the locker room, people finally found the opportunity to say, "Kurosawa Hikari. This guy is really handsome. He looks handsome, has a great figure, and is so strong. No wonder Mickey will partner with him. I just don't know what his skills are like. I haven't heard of him before." Tokyo's Most Affectionate. Author, Wodada Shuchu Wujin. Chapter 559. The arm wrestling episode delayed them for a few minutes. After Kurosawa Hikaru walked out of the locker room, he soon met Miki Shiraha. The two looked at each other, without saying much, and walked towards the ice rink together with a tacit understanding. There were still 80 minutes before the start of the competition. During this period, they also needed to do warm-up exercises, put on skates, and practice before the start of the competition. The scoring method for pair skating is very similar to that for single skating, but the consistency of the two people must be taken into consideration. The first day is the short program, each set includes 8 movements, and the whole set of movements must not exceed 2 minutes and 40 seconds. The music is self-selected, and each movement is only allowed to be performed once. Additional movements will be deducted. The second day is free skating, with self-selected music and self-composed routines, which must be completed within 4 minutes and 30 seconds, including single and double movements. The evaluation of the competition ranking is a comprehensive calculation, that is, the sum of the results of the 2 days. The choice of competition music is very free, not limited to pure music, and vocals can also be selected, but the requirements for the selection of tracks are high quality and meet certain standards. When choosing songs, it is best for players to avoid the same songs as those of other players in the same competition. Whoever is not good will be embarrassed. Even if they are not in the same competition, many popular songs can be easily compared because many professional players have performed them. If you are confident in your own ability, you can also choose popular songs or classic songs. Passing through the backstage player channel, Kurosawa Hikaru and Miki Shiraha came to the ice rink. Whoa! With their arrival, the ice rink was boiling, and even screams were heard. "It's really the princess, she's back. Princess, welcome back. The princess is participating again, is she going to make a comeback? But why is it pairs skating? Who is the player competing with her?" During the change of clothes, the audience who had entered the venue a long time ago had already heard the news that the figure skating princess appeared. Now they saw it with their own eyes and were extremely surprised. Some people are destined to be the protagonists in a certain field. Miki Shiraha had been away from the competition for many years and gradually faded out of the public's view, but when she reappeared, the memories and admiration of the past were awakened in an instant. In just a moment, she seemed to be working day and night and became the focus of the whole audience. Didn't the princess say that she was seriously injured and missed the competition? How is her injury? Many eyes were focused on one person, and many people wanted to find out how her injury was recovering. Not only the audience, but also the players, everyone was very curious. The injury was so serious that she could no longer continue to insist on single skating, and was forced to retire due to injury. As a result, she disappeared for a few years and turned to pair skating. What does this mean? Does she think that she has an old injury and can't skate in singles, but can skate in pairs? What a joke, is she looking down on pair skating? Is there really anyone who thinks that single skating is more difficult than pair skating? On the ice rink, the female players who had been practicing for a long time found that everyone's attention was attracted, even the fans were affected, and they suddenly felt unbalanced. Girls are jealous by nature. No one can remain calm when they see other girls are more successful than themselves. What's more, Miki Shiraha was once a single skater. This position made the skaters who were just staring at each other on the ice rink all share the same hatred and face the enemy together. There is a contempt chain in the four major events of figure skating. Pair skating stands at the top of the contempt chain, looking down on other events. Because many movements of pair skating are more dangerous than single skating. If you are not careful, it is common to get injured. Danger equals high difficulty, which is an undeniable fact. In addition, the expressiveness, artistic points, and performance elements of pair skating are much higher than those of single skating. Obviously, this is the case, but a single skater suddenly switched to pair skating, and it was not a normal career change, but a sudden comeback after retiring for many years due to injury. What does this mean? I always feel that everyone's eyes are so fierce. Miki Shiraha has long been accustomed to the spotlight, but this time is different from before. It is obvious that the atmosphere on the ice rink has changed. The players who were practicing before the game were all looking at her. Their eyes were not curious, but angry, disdainful, and annoyed. Even more, some male players looked at her unfriendly, as if she had offended everyone. She could vaguely guess the truth. "There's nothing I can do. You're too beautiful." Kurosawa Hikaru had a strong hearing ability and heard the words of some players, but he didn't point it out, but smiled. He didn't comment on which one was more difficult, single skating or pair skating, because to him, both were very simple. As for whether Baiyu was looking down on pair skating, in everyone's opinion, this was a completely forced accusation and was unfounded. As a figure skater, Baiyu knew very well that the four events of figure skating had their own difficulties. "Let's do a warm-up." Miki Baiyu found that he didn't care about everyone's hostility, and secretly breathed a sigh of relief, so he suggested. "Okay." Kurosawa Hikaru was participating in a figure skating competition for the first time. Facing her, a veteran on the field, he naturally respected her. After that, they found an empty space under the ice rink, laid out their yoga mats, and started doing warm-up exercises. Not long after, a female reporter and a photographer arrived at the scene. "It's really Miki. He actually participated in the competition." In the audience, the female reporter followed everyone's side and found Miki Baiyu, and was very surprised. "I saw her practicing pair skating with others at the Gain skating rink before, so I should have guessed it. They skate so well, it's impossible for them to just play around as amateurs. They definitely plan to participate in the competition." The photographer noticed this and said, "What a missed opportunity." The female reporter felt very sorry. In fact, she had heard the news before and had been to the Gain skating rink. She did see Miki, but she didn't go to interview him. "There's nothing we can do. Coach Miki has said that she hopes everyone won't disturb her daughter's life. She hasn't come back, so we can't force an interview." As a man, the photographer was more open-minded and didn't feel it was a pity. In the figure skating world, Miki is indeed very famous, but for the relevant staff in the industry, her mother is more famous. Because Miki's mother is a well-known top coach in the industry, and has trained many well-known figure skaters. If they offend Coach Miki, it will be difficult to get along in the industry. If they offend her, it will be difficult for them to interview those famous players. This situation applies to any reporter team. After she goes on stage, we will go to the player's entrance and interview her as soon as possible. The female reporter nodded slightly and made a decision quickly. Miki has not returned to the competition yet, but is just skating and practicing alone in private. It is really difficult for them to disturb you. But now that you are a player and participating in the competition, it should be okay to interview you, right? She knew very well that even if Miki participated in this competition in the Kanto region instead of a well-known competition, it would definitely bring considerable attention to this competition. In fact, there are very few first-line professional players participating in such small competitions. Most of them are third and fourth-line professional players and amateur players. For such competitions, the organizers invite first-line professional players to perform, which is already the maximum publicity. It is basically impossible for the audience to expect to see a strong confrontation in such competitions. It is purely for the entertainment of ice fans. That's exactly why Miki Shiraha performed well or poorly today. No matter what she did, it would be reported. Not long after, Miki Shiraha and Kurosawa Hikaru finished their warm-up exercises, put on their skates, and officially stepped onto the ice rink. Although Miki Shiraha had aroused public anger, there were many eyes watching on the ice rink at this time, and no one would be stupid enough to trip others up in such a fair and above-board situation. During the practice stage, Kurosawa Hikaru and Miki Shiraha were both practicing some basic movements to further warm up. After practicing for an hour, all the players left the ice rink because the organizers' staff had to clear and refill the ice. I thought they were very good, but this is the extent. I am better than her at my amateur level. They left the ice rink one after another. The other players were still a little nervous, but when they saw that they ended like this and did not do anything eye-catching throughout the whole process, they were relieved and some people found it funny. However, not everyone had this idea. For example, the judges who had not officially appeared on the ice, and the reporters. Masters, where did Miki find his partner? So amazing. The female reporter watched the pair leave the stage in amazement. Perhaps the practice this time was very basic, without any difficult moves. But even so, as a sports reporter, she could still see that Miki's posture and dance steps were beautiful, graceful, and smooth, and graceful. What surprised her was that Kurosawa Hikaru's movements were clean, neat, graceful, and natural, like a nobleman on ice. This male player is also worth paying attention to. The photographer also saw the trick and reminded. Based on basic practice alone, no one could tell how strong Miki Shiraha and Kurosawa Hikaru are, but it is certain that their lower limit is not low, and they are definitely not ordinary people. Because the proficiency of novices and veterans is easy to distinguish. Backstage, a staff member came up with a tablet computer and explained the situation. Miki, the draw results have come out. You will be on stage in the fourth group. There are 20 minutes left before the start of the game. Please be ready. In fact, the draw results will be automatically sent to the players' mobile phones. But you can't carry anything in your skating uniforms, and your mobile phone is likely to be left in the locker room, so you need to notify each one by one. Thank you. Miki Shiraha nodded slightly and responded politely. After the matter was settled, the staff member turned around and left, holding the tablet to find other players. The fourth group. Kurosawa Hikaru couldn't help but mutter to himself when he learned the result. What's wrong? Do you think it's too early to go on stage? Seeing his reaction, Miki Shiraha couldn't help but be curious. We're on stage so soon, isn't it pitiful for the group behind us? Kurosawa Hikaru shook his head and smiled. Pitiable. Miki Shiraha was stunned when he heard this. Seeing how great our performance was, their mentality collapsed. Kurosawa Hikaru said something when he found out that she didn't understand. Although it was his first time participating in the competition, he firmly believed that with his own strength, he would win the championship of such a small competition without any suspense. That's too exaggerated, it's not a good habit to underestimate your opponent. Miki Bayu understood what he meant and rolled his eyes at him. I never underestimate my opponents, but I am better at seeing my own strength clearly. Kurosawa Hikaru shrugged. He also knew that it was not a good habit to underestimate the enemy, but he was very confident. This is true whether it is for himself, Bayu, or their combination. 20 minutes is a short time. After a long period of practice and warm-up before the game, the players need to change shoes, wipe sweat, replenish water, go to the toilet, and adjust their condition after taking a break. In the busy time, everyone finished various things, put on their skates, sat on the bench at the entrance, and waited for the game to start. The skates under their feet have hard plastic protective covers on the ice blades to facilitate walking on land during the last part of the journey before going on the field. Because this was a small competition, although many people knew Miki Bayu, no one had dealt with her before, so no one came over to talk to her. As for Hikaru Kurosawa, because of the incident in the locker room, many people know that his name is Hikaru Kurosawa, but they still know very little about him. Finally, 20 minutes passed, and loud noises began to be heard from the open exit for the players. Through the one-way glass, a woman can be seen, holding a microphone, speaking before the game. Pre-match speeches usually have little nutrition and mainly convey some positive words. After a while, the game started, and the host called out the names and combinations of the first group of contestants. However, the players who come to participate in this kind of competition do not have much resume. They mainly introduce the city from which they come. As the pleasant pure music sounded, the first group of contestants began to perform. The players who are still backstage can see the performance of the players on the field through the one-way see-through glass. Because he was unfamiliar with the place and had never met these people before, Kurosawa's viewing experience was quite ordinary and he had no reaction. Although the strength of this pair of players is pretty good, their cooperation is quite tacit, and they don't make too many mistakes. But seeing this performance, he only had one thought in his mind, and that was, if I can't win the championship in this level of competition, I will twist off my head and use it as a ball. The performance of the first group ended quickly, because it was not a famous contestant. The appearance, introduction, short program of 2 minutes and 40 seconds, plus the bow and exit at the end of the performance, would not exceed 6 minutes in total. In this regard, Kurosawa Hikaru was very bored. In his opinion, the performance of the two players on the field was completely full of loopholes and a mess. Thankfully, he was introduced in the fourth group and didn't have to wait too long. After waiting for a while, Kurosawa Hikaru suddenly saw an acquaintance standing up. This acquaintance, tall and strong, was surprisingly Sara Tsuzuhima, who had just lost to him in an arm wrestling match. Next to him is a beautiful woman in her 20s with a graceful figure and beautiful appearance. Are you the third group to appear? As they walked past, Kurosawa Hikaru suddenly said. So what? Tsuzuhima Sara's skates were covered with hard plastic protective covers and he walked very slowly. He was already particularly concerned about Kurosawa Hikaru, so he was very unhappy when he heard his voice. You're out of luck. After confirming that it was really him, Kurosawa Hikaru couldn't help but sigh. What's the meaning? Tsuzuhima Sara didn't understand what he meant. Come on. Kurosawa Hikaru didn't speak too bluntly, he just smiled. The players before and after him were definitely the most unlucky in today's game. Being in front of him will make people feel superior. Standing behind him will make people feel that Zuyu is in front. The performance of these two positions is easier to compare. Baffling. Tsuzuhima Sara looked at him playing riddles, glared at him, and continued walking forward. The second group is already performing and it will soon be their turn. Do you know any other players? Seeing them leaving, Miki Bayu, who was sitting next to him, was very surprised. I just met in the locker room. He provoked me and said I was a skinny monkey and vulnerable. I arm wrestled with him and he was crushed by me. The opportunity was just right. Kurosawa Hikaru also told her what happened just now. Senior, your figure is too deceptive. Miki Bayu couldn't help but sigh when he learned about the situation. Kurosawa senpai's figure is really slim when dressed, but sexy when undressed. Those refined muscles are really super sexy. Not long after, the host's voice came into the player channel. The players in the third group are Takemi Ayako and Tsuzuhima Sara.